Hello, TBS friends and family. Welcome to the second installment, the message for the second week of Elul. I wanted to talk to you today and delve a little bit deeper into something I mentioned last week, which is the idea of forgiveness. As I said last week also, we know that it's not an easy process. And when we think about observing the high holidays and celebrating the high holidays, they are heavy on ritual, on things that we do in the synagogue, on rituals that we celebrate with family at home. But our rabbis really teach us that the ritual is not valuable until we've done the interpersonal and individual work as well. In the Mishnah, we have a famous saying by the rabbis that for transgression against God, Yom Kippur affects atonement. But for transgressions against another human being, Yom Kippur doesn't affect atonement until you have made peace with that other human being. So I wanted to take a few minutes to explore the process and the idea of forgiveness and of making peace with other people in our lives. And one of the questions that I often get asked is, what happens if the person that I approached and asked for forgiveness doesn't want to forgive me? And interestingly, I don't get asked it in reverse, but I think it's also the case often that we might get approached by someone and not be ready to forgive him or her either. And Maimonides teaches that you can actually turn someone down or be turned down 2 times before the 3rd time of either granting forgiveness or receiving forgiveness from another person, because there's a realization that that process is an intense process and may not be able to happen right away. So you can approach somebody 3 times before you expect them to forgive you, and the other way around. And also, the process of forgiveness doesn't necessarily involve forgetting. Instead, it really involves recreation of the trust between 2 people. And I think about the process of forgiveness and repair. The best image that I like to use for thinking about this is the image of a piece of fabric that's torn, or a garment that's torn, right? That can go several ways. The 2 pieces can never come back together, not be reunited, be thrown away, be separated always, and a relationship wouldn't have repair. People hurt each other and disappoint each other and just go their separate ways rather than trying to find a way to come back together. But High Holidays really does urge us to make repair and to try to sew the pieces back together. So you can be sewn back together with another person. There can be repair in a very light way. You can say to somebody, I'm sorry I've upset you. I'm sorry I've hurt you. And then that tear gets sewn over. But the likelihood is that if there's tension in a relationship, that rip will be yet again the place where there's weakness, and it will tear apart again because trust hasn't really been rebuilt. But a third way, when we ask for forgiveness or when we grant forgiveness to someone else, is that we can mend the tear with so many stitches or a patch that part of the fabric is now even stronger than the rest of the fabric. The tear remains visible and the repair remains visible, but the result is that it's stronger than before and isn't likely to tear again in the same place. So it's not forgotten, but instead it's a time when we actually confess and articulate the issues and the problems in a relationship honestly, and even maybe have to return to it 2 or 3 times. But with true forgiveness, we can see each other's vulnerabilities, note each other's personality flaws, and yes, we all have them, and care for one another with acceptance of who the other person really is. And if we participate in this process of forgiveness, we can reestablish trust, and our bonds with one another are stronger than they were before, having weathered the conflict and patched the tear, knowing that we can survive the difficulties of being human together. So if we're able to do this with people that we love, we can enter into the time of prayer and contemplation of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and all of its rituals with a lightness of heart and even more potential for a sweet, happy, and healthy new year. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll be back in your inbox again next week. Shabbat Shalom.